This is our main building, Department of Anthropology, Savitribai, Phule, Pune University. Formerly, it was known as a University of Pune. Our Department of Anthropology, it was established in 1939 at Deccan College as a research department. Anthropology at PG level was introduced in 1963. 1973, it was shifted to university campus. Of course, that time it was a joint department with the Department of Sociology. In 1977, Independent Department of Anthropology established. So today, 2021, we have 5 faculty members, 9 project staff, 19 PhD scholars, 2 MPhil scholars, 35 master's students, 2 international students, and we have 14 international students through MOU. I have devoted my first slide to Professor Irati Karve, who is a pioneer of our department. Her period was 1905 to 1970, 70. One of the first women anthropologists of India. She did PhD in 1933 in Kaiser Wilhelm Institute of Anthropology, Berlin, Germany. From 1939 to 1970, she worked at Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Center, Pune, and the full period she devoted in establishing and developing anthropology. Her academic contribution in old school traditions span work from physical anthropology, archaeology, sociocultural anthropology, and linguistics. Some of her books I have tried to place here, all I couldn't. One of the important books like Kinship Organization in India, Hindu Society and Interpretation, Yugan. Of course, in Maharashtra, she is also known as an literature. Marathi people, they say that she is a literature person. We say that she is an anthropologist. So that's why I've devoted my first slide to Professor Irati Karve. Now, vision of our department is with equal emphasis on cultural anthropology and biological anthropology. We study conditions of human existence and endeavors through holistic and interdisciplinary perspective. This is our today's picture. We have one professor, that myself. I'm on lean. I'm a cultural anthropologist and my more specialization in development and urban anthropology. Then Dr. Shantanu Uzarkar, who is assistant professor and officiating head. He is biological and molecular anthropologist. We have 3 assistant professors. Aarti Nawathe, all these 3 assistant professors today, they are on contractual basis. Aarti Nawathe, who is a biological anthropologist. Prem Pawar, he is sociocultural anthropologist, and Gunaratna Sontakke, he is sociocultural anthropologist. In last 10 years, we have published 77 articles in journals, 15 books, 37 book chapters, and 11 conference proceedings. Our visiting faculty, Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathi, she comes for osteology and biological anthropology. Dr. Rashmi Kapoor, she comes to teach medical genetics and biological anthropology. Dr. Solomon Sarve, he comes for the medical anthropology and research method. Today he is going to talk. Dr. Sajju Joseph, he teaches medical anthropology and research methods. We have 7 academic support staff. We also encourage our staff to pursue education. So 3 of our academic support staff are pursuing PhD, and university has granted permission for it. Digambar Karanskar, who is a draftsman who is doing PhD at Deccan College on bridging the gap medieval archaeology of Kutch. Umesh Mende, who is an archaeologist, he's working on development of Harappan architecture from early to mature Harappan, a case study in Kutch region. He has registered himself at Nagpur University. And Abhijit Deshpande, who is working on socioeconomic status of Nihal tribe in Buldhana district of Maharashtra. He has registered in our university. So this is what the program we are offered in our department. We offer master's degree, MA, MSc. It's a semester pattern, choice-based credit system since 2000. Currently, 35 students are enrolled, out of which one is international student from the Bangladesh. We have 14 international students as a casual students or for the reading course. They have come from Germany, Italy, Canada, France, Afghanistan, and Iran. Currently, we are having two MPhil students. One has completed. She was from the Great Britain. Currently, 19 students have enrolled for the PhD. 9 they have been awarded, and one student have submitted. One international students from the Vietnam. So total 89 PhDs are awarded till 2021. Recently, undergraduate curriculum with choice-based credit system is approved, and hopefully will start from this coming academic year. For the masters in anthropology, since it is choice-based credit system, 75 credits from the parent department and 25 credits from the other department students can choose. And from the students' feedback and syllabus, recently we have introduced 9 new courses. For the first semester and second semester, all core courses we have kept as an compulsory. And for the advanced courses for third and fourth semester all are advanced courses with the modules of development and urban anthropology, medical anthropology, or biological anthropology. So they have a choice of 4 papers in each semester. Dissertation is of course compulsory for third and fourth semester, and fieldwork for the second semester. So we give field-based training. These are our thrust areas: urban anthropology, development anthropology, tribal and rural development, Indian anthropology, growth and nutrition, medical anthropology, and molecular anthropology is an emerging area. Our anthropology students, I am happy that to say that our department is one of the first departments in SPPU and country to adopt choice-based credit system in 2000. So anthropology students, they opt courses from health sciences, psychology, philosophy, English, sociology, economics, and women's studies, and vice versa. Students from the health sciences, microbiology, zoology, sociology, they opt courses in anthropology. Particularly, they select Indian anthropology, tribal and rural development, growth and nutrition, population genetics, comparative anatomy, and human evolution, and medical genetics. Yes, ethnographic fieldwork. Annually, we conduct fieldwork among the tribes of Maharashtra and rest of India. And then we have annual seminars where the students present findings from the ethnographic fieldwork and dissertation. These ethnographic fieldwork reports and dissertation reports are examined by the faculty other than the guide for the external evaluation. Best practices in our teaching that we, of course, I have told you that field-based training, that is ethnographic fieldwork, we use software. We give training to how to use software like SPS, the statistical packages for social sciences, for qualitative and quantitative data, both scope, online resources, how to use online resources, then videos and documentation. And we also have remedial courses, regular counseling, and we recommend students for the remedial English classes, particularly if they have come from the village background. We have 2 classrooms with ICT facilities, 1 digital classroom under RUSA we have developed. In our departmental library, we have 3013 books, 306 master dissertation, 50 PhD theses are available, and 579 ethnographic field reports are available. Yes, we have 2 research and training laboratories. biological anthropology laboratory. We have astrometry, somatometry, growth and nutrition studies, and 3D printing facilities for printing hominid replicas. We have also started developing small molecular anthropology lab for human genetics using the DNA analysis. Yes, we have nice museum which we have named Irati Karve Museum of Anthropology. Total artifacts 1092. Staff conduct regular fieldworks for the collection of artifacts. In addition to teaching and research, this is very important that we have kept this museum open for general public. Students from the local schools and colleges, they visit museum as a part of their curricular and co-curricular activities. Footfall in the last 5 years, 10 schools, 14 colleges, and more than 2,000 individual visitors. Ongoing research projects, 2 ongoing research projects are there. That is, one is ethnographic studies of 45 tribe. This project with the policy implications. I'm a principal investigator of this project. We have received fund from the Ministry of Tribal Development Department through Tribal Research and Training Institute, Government of Maharashtra. The other ongoing project is Human Microbiome Initiative of Select Endogamous Population of India. Principal investigator initially, late Professor Shaunak Kulkarni, now Dr. Shantanu Ozakar, he is a principal investigator. Fund has received from the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. And this project is multi-centric, multi-institutional, interdisciplinary project documenting the microbiome with diet, biogeography, and host genomes. So many institutes are collaborating this project. In last, I'll say 7 to 8 years, we have completed 15 minor and major projects. That was, different, like socio-cultural aspects of Tamasha Kalavant, Tamasha, which is an traditional folk dance of Maharashtra. Then PVTGs and their traditional belief system, eco-literacy towards the sustainable development, various stressors and stress level, caste diversity profile in corporate sector, educational status of one of the tribes of Maharashtra, digitalization and documentation, that also we have done. Then tribal cultural affinity. This is very important that we have submitted the handbook of conceptual and methodological framework for scrutinizing tribal identity claims to the government of Maharashtra to reduce the pseudo-tribalization, and that was the first. I can say that first project in India. And then some of the projects like old age homes in India, documentation of use of various plants, social exclusion and malnutrition, street food vendors of Pune city, adolescent obesity. Yes. We have also, conducted national, recently everyone, they know that in 2019, we have conducted INCA and like national seminars on B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and anthropology and human development, and lecture series also. We also do consultancy and advisory to government of Maharashtra, some NGOs and institute. We have signed 3 MOUs with government of Maharashtra, one, then ISAC, that is Institute of Social Economic Change, Bangalore, and some international MOUs we have initiated. Future plan that to make anthropology as a center for advanced studies and excellence through the student-centric teaching, community-oriented research. Yes, major research projects we have planned to take from national, international agencies, preparation of online courses, and long-term strategic partnership with the research institute. These are all our future plans to strengthen the lab facilities, improve the department library, then take from the community perspective, conduct the research, and have a short-term courses of various aspects of anthropology, preparation of certificate courses. We have already all proposals we have submitted to BOS, and lecture series in exhibition and lecture series in travel area and Maharashtra. Thank you. I wish all the best to all participants, and thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Anjali ma'am, for presenting the academic profile of a very historic institution. And this department has produced so many eminent personality in anthropology. So congratulations for your wonderful presentation.
Thank
Now,
you.
without
Thank you.
wasting time, I would like to call upon the moderator of today's symposium, and she is Dr. Rajni Lamba. I would like to request Dr. Lamba to take over. Dr. Lamba, the Google Meet platform is now yours. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Lamba.
Thank you, sir. That was a very generous and glowing introduction. I'm just a small person. And basically, today's seminar was a great eye-opener when you said that we are going to talk about what practicing anthropologists actually do. I had a few questions which I would like to put before. We have a wonderful list of 7 really great speakers. All of them are in the top echelons of their field. And as the evening progresses, I'm sure we will, come to know why they are so accomplished and what is it that makes them so wonderful. I would like to start the ball rolling basically on 2 points. I would just like to say that firstly, I had been warned that there is the match going on between England and India, so we should wind up. So, keeping the time constraints in mind, we will go ahead with our presentations. Now, I just have a few questions for the house. Firstly, what is practicing anthropology? And who are practicing anthropologists? What is it that they do? What are their tools of trade? How has the progress and development of the nation rested on their work? Have they contributed towards it, and in what manner? This is why I would like to request all our speakers today, all 7 of them, to definitely tell us about what it is that they've been working on, their field of work, their experiences, the many hurdles they faced, and the innovations they made. How did they overcome those hurdles? How did they manage to prepare themselves and also their teams? Because an anthropologist never works alone. It is always with the team, always with the community, always with a whole lot of people who contribute towards this progress. So my request to all my speakers today would be to please tell us in detail of what it is that you did to become the success that you are today. Also, I know there are a lot of young anthropologists, young researchers who are watching us, who are watching this presentation today. They would definitely want to know what is the scope of anthropology for them. How will they progress in this dynamic, new, information-rich world? We are living in the information age. And what is it in anthropology? Are we going to have a new field of information anthropology? Or are we going to incorporate information and its many dimensions within whatever we are doing? How is it that we are going to contribute to this new century? We have already passed through 2 decades of the century. We are starting on the 3rd. How is our practice of anthropology going to contribute fruitfully to the progress of the nation, to the progress of our discipline, and to the enrichment of our faculty as well as our researchers? All of us have been working on research, course material, administration, using anthropological inputs. But where is it that we have actually seen anthropology really go much far ahead of all the other disciplines? There have been debates on sociological thought, there have been debates on psychological thought, but when you look back at anthropology, you find the work in anthropology goes back. We have got scholars who have worked on how anthropology has moved towards incorporating all these disciplines within its ambit and then moved on, refined upon them, improved upon them, and made something very different and something very much more practical and much more useful. As an anthropologist, I've been working, as Professor Behera said, with a lot of indigenous communities. Uh, my teacher does not like to call them tribals anymore. This we had decided as long ago as I think in 1992 that, sorry, it's more indigenous people that we're going to look at and see what they have to teach us. Today we have a galaxy of speakers. We have leading lights like Professor Bhagwan Roy. We have a lot of people who have done work and are continuing to do fantastic work in the field of anthropology. Now, I would like to request each one of them to please tell us more about what you're doing and how do you think your work can be reflected in everything that our young aspirants are doing. Therefore, the issue at hand is, do we have what is the work for tomorrow in our today's, and the guidance and the fresh direction that our speakers today can give in this information age to mark the progress or to mark the roadmap to the coming decades. The floor I would like to open to a healthy exchange of ideas for all our members of IUAF and all the people who are watching this symposium. And I would like to introduce each one of our speakers before we go ahead. In fact, I thought it would be a much better idea. Why not let the speaker tell us about what it is that they are doing, and we would be more informed of how they have worked towards where they are today. Now, before I start with all the people, I would just like to put in one little word of caution that if we stick to a time clock of say about 12 to 15 minutes for each speaker, we will manage to get through this symposium, and we would not be infringing on anybody else's rights. Each speaker gets about 12 odd minutes. Let's stick to that, and then if required, up to 15, but not more than that, so that we can. And I would not like to, stop every time. So kindly keep your stopwatches on. And for the evening today, the first person the first researcher, the first expert, the first consultant whom we are going to who are we going to introduce today is Professor Sanjay Juvekar. He is currently heading the KEM Hospital's Vadu Rural Health Program, and I would like him to tell us more about what he is doing and also his advice to the younger aspirants. I invite Professor Juvekar to kindly take the stage.
Good evening, Dr. Lamba, and thank you very much for this introduction. I'm just going to take half a minute to present, going into the presentation mode. So it's really good to speak to you all. It's a real privilege to talk about anthropology, engaging with people, what we do, how we do, and Dr. Lamba very precisely said, what, who, where. That is what we are going to talk. And I'm going to take 10 minutes now instead of 12. Very quickly, I'll tell about what I do and how I encourage engaging people with the help of the knowledge I learned in anthropology as an anthropology student throughout my career as an anthropologist in the beginning at the department and later on. And these are all the learnings from the anthropology. So why anthropologists to engage people? Why not anybody else? That's something which I would like to emphasize on. First of all, anthropologists achieve the final goal of improving patient care. And again, let me tell you that I'm going to restrict myself to the health alone, and not because anthropologists work in a whole lot of fields from education, environment, and whatever, but I'm talking about the health and public health in India. We, as anthropologists, if we engage people, we could help making interventions more relevant to the user's need and not just the mere interventions. We could help in decreasing the ambiguity and early acceptance of the meaningful findings. There may be excellent findings in which you would see that many researchers, the health researchers, the medical professionals do excellent research, but that cannot be taken to the ground as anthropologists could do. That's where we could help. Better impact and acceptability of interventions is something which anthropologists could contribute largely. Reducing barriers in implementation and facilitating the process of implementation as a whole. This is what we are going to support in the public health in India. If you talk about anthropologists in emergencies, COVID is an excellent example where anthropologists have helped, and I'm talking from our own experience of working with the health system directly in Pune, in Maharashtra, where the social drivers of COVID appropriate behavior. Now, we as anthropologists try to do research, and we are giving these answers to the health system. As an anthropologist, I personally initiated the serosurveillance, which is much more effectively done than what serosurveillance you would have otherwise seen in the last 2 or 3 months countrywide. When you see how the serosurveillance happens with the help of anthropologists, you'll be knowing that. We are doing into that. COVID vaccine trial research are more effectively done when there is involvement of the anthropologists to engage the community, because vaccine trials cannot be done easily if anthropologists not involved. You will see that a classic example by the time Nivedita puts the slide is like our center does vaccine trials. There are 12 other centers doing the same Covishield vaccine trial of the Oxford vaccine. But the maximum number of subjects or the participants involved right without any hesitation was in the site where there was anthropologists leading. And that was our site. Likewise, we have the stakeholder engagement, the acquiring resources for that, whether it is funding or places, identifying partners, community awareness programs, community participation in trials or maybe other studies is something which anthropologists could help in a better manner. Okay, I'm continuing with the next slide also. I'll tell some of the things what we do at the KEM Hospital Research Center, Vadu. I am running, personally heading the Vadu Rural Health Program, which is actually covering a population of about 1,000 in 4 blocks of Pune district. It is as good as half the Pune district we covered, where we do all sorts of research, also including the research that requires quantitative as well as qualitative research skills. We engage the communities in these 100,000 population, without which the effective research is not possible. The work which we do includes working with the health system itself. Yes. So what I was telling you is this is what we do. Now, how to engage communities? There is various ways. Community of patients. I'm talking about. You have street plays, film, pamphlet, dissemination, meetings, everything is done by others also. But the way we as anthropologists do is this is what, and this is all the pictures of what we do ourselves. Anjali, can we go to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So that was the community of patients. Here we have the community of people, again, involving the public patients' interventions. Now, how do you do that? Right from conceptualization, you could involve the population, you could involve the patient pool. And this is what we have initiated. And it's not only in India. I think all over the globe, people are saying that involve your participants right from the beginning in the design of the study. And who else other than anthropologists could do? We have recently done this, and we have shown that we were funded by the Department of Biotechnology as well as the NIHR UK for similar studies on COVID serosurveillance, mainly because we could involve the participants. Planning and conduct of the studies, analyzing the data, use them. This is how we could do. Now, coming to the community of healthcare providers, we involve them right from beginning. Day one of my job, which started in 2002. We've been working with the ASHAs, the ANMs, the medical officers, the senior leadership in the state, whether it is the private practitioner, all the public health professionals, everywhere, right from the collector to the village level, sarpanch, and everybody we have been working. And this engagement is possible only when we have people from anthropological background. We can inform them clearly, we can consult them when needed, with due respect to everybody. We involve people at right time and the right people. We collaborate and empower the people at large in that sense. Anjali, the next slide, please. What about the decision makers, the policy people? Usually it had been, the people, medical professionals who do research and reach to the policy people. But how do they reach? Do they reach in the right manner? I can tell you from my personal experience that we have been successful because we have been involving the anthropologists in reaching to the policy people, in reaching to the decision makers. And today in Maharashtra, they do come, as Professor Anjali also mentioned, that she has been consulting the government of Maharashtra. Professor Mutatkar is here for decades, he has been doing that. And now we are following on his footprints, and we are seeing that we are being involved by the health system, public health system, very actively. Right from managing their data to using their data, reaching their data to the right people, all sorts of things. So this is where, the learnings, the mutual learning, the research transparency, what we as anthropologists, we always feel it is a must. Now, how do we do this? This is what will help us to reducing the research. Important paper. Somebody is speaking. Sorry about it, but that's people speaking without muting their mic, but that's fine. I hope my voice is also heard. Reducing research waste is another important thing. We value the public money because we all use public money. If we don't want to waste our money, the most important thing is we use it in the right manner, at the right place, at the right time. Access to the more relevant and useful research result for the community is important. And for all these things, please go to the next slide, Anjali, you're right, because I know I have short of time. But yes, here I'm using, instead of community alone, it's a stakeholder engagement conceptual framework. This is a framework which is emerged because of the work of anthropology students at our own institution. And we realized that this is a cyclical process also. It is no more one-way process, and that has come from the anthropology. Whether it is community to the decision makers, the data going, whether the decisions going, whether the ideas going, whether the research reports going. Again, from the decision makers, also we know that the healthcare providers, how does it go? Is it just that you create programs and send it to that? No, you have to take the programs to the community also, and then only the acceptance of the program would be better. And we have seen that we have involved the government health system in the implementation research, which is classical example where possible serious bacterial infections were, effectively implemented because of role of anthropologists in the system for doing implementation research, hand-holding the health system people, right from ASHAs to the district health officers, top level people, together working with them and ensuring that there is reduction in the infant mortality due to the sepsis in Maharashtra. And we have shown this in our population. So these are just a couple of examples. Let's go to the next slide. I just wanted to give an example. Next slide, Anjali, please.
Yeah, modes of engagement.
Yes, there are various modes of engagement. And how do we do that? I have given a few things very fast. I was speaking, but here are some of the modes of engagement. Capacity building of the people. Capacity building of the people in the sense the people for whom the government works, the public health programs works, we build their capacity and they will be the people who will take the program, accept the program. The vaccine hesitancy, why is it coming up? Because the capacity building of people hasn't happened. People still believe in WhatsApp. All the chaos of vaccine acceptability, poor vaccine acceptability, or even poor testing acceptability is because of chaos. Why that chaos? Because of not building the capacity of people. That's what we do in KEM at Vadu Rural Health Program. We build the capacities. Our researchers are nobody other than the people themselves with whom we work, for whom we work. That's how we work with the people. Go to the next slide, please. We also engage the health system. The top to bottom approach is what usually accepted or used by the medical fraternity. But we as anthropologists also believe in the bottoms up approach, and it has helped us. I'll tell you, this has helped us. Because the very first day I joined, I said that what I want to do is I want to train the people to do research. And the biggest of chaos was from the medical fraternity saying that, no, that's not possible. How can those who are 10th standard grade, 12th grade pass can help you? But today you come and our people have trained the principles of the Ayurveda Medical College in using anthropometry. And that is evidence, this is all published. How that has happened? Because we have trained these anthropometrists who are 10th grade plus with using our anthropology knowledge, and they can train anybody. They do the high-tech tests like not only ECG, but heart rate variability testing done, spirometry done by the people there. How do we do that? It's all because of mode of engaging the people. Anjali, go to the next slide, please. We also engage the media because that is something which is always creating the hurdles. Today we know the media should actually play a very positive role, but unfortunately COVID has not been handled by the media very effectively. The wrong messages are more percolating everywhere because media also uses WhatsApp messages nowadays. Every news will see media. So who is responsibilities? I think we as anthropologists who are in the ground all over the country can reach with the right message to the right people. I think that's what is going to help us. But last slide, I'm going to speak half a minute and half or 1 minute. Next slide, please, Anjali. Now, what is more important is, this is what I know many of you don't know my faces, but some of my teachers are there. Some of my friends like Anjali are there who can see the right in the center is my face. Now, it's not to show what I do, it's to show that what anthropology can do. These people who you see are all the people who were 10th grade, 12th grade, graduate level. And because of our anthropological knowledge, including the people right from the beginning in the planning of the research, implementation of the research, disseminating research to the same people in the same population, the team has increased over the period. And now we have about 200, 300 people working from the same villages. More than 80% of these people faces you see are the locals who are working with us. They are doing research. And this is possible only and only because of the anthropology applied appropriately in the right place, in the right manner. This helps. And in this, as Anjali mentioned earlier, it's not me alone doing. There are a lot of anthropology students from the department who have helped me. At the same time, like we work with Shantanu, we are working together. With Anjali, we work together. And they are the people who have trained our people. So this is how we could reach to the larger population and by engaging the communities. And I'm going to end here. Thank you very much. I hope I've kept with the time.
Most definitely you have, Professor Juvika. It was really enthralling listening to you. And I see that you've given us the 3 A's where anthropology is applied appropriately. I think this is something which our coming generation of anthropologists are going to take up and will reflect upon it before they really embark on the journey. Thank you so much, Professor Juvika. And I do hope you'll be with us for the question and answer session also at the end.
Yes, I'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to introduce Professor Amitabh Pandey. He does not need any introduction, but still I would be most grateful if Professor Pandey would take on the floor, because of positive time, I do not want to go into introductions. I would rather prefer, sir, if you come in and let us know what you're doing and do give us a word of advice for the younger generation on how they can implement anthropology as practicing anthropologists. I invite Professor Amitabh Pandey, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rajini.
You're welcome.
Professor Deepak Behra, Professor Gregory, thanks for starting this forum, because this gave me a chance to get connected, and I'm thankful to COVID. The opportunity of learning through this forum was great for me, because or else the kind of engagement I'm into it hardly gets time to come this side. So, but these 2 opportunities were a blessing in disguise for me. So thanks for I would like to start. So I would like to first greet our seniors, Professor Mutatkar, Professor Arvind Sinha, Professor Shalina Mehta, Professor Bhagwan Roy, Professor Mandal, Professor A.B. Ota sir, and all others. I can see my friend BP Singh from Neelu Bhopal. So basically, I'll start my things. Ranjani ji has given me 12 minutes, so I'll go for my 2020 series. I have these talk points for myself. How did I become an anthropologist? My journey. When I moved to the environment and natural resource space, what were my challenges and what were my advantages? Anthropology is with an art, with a difference which I find it when I work in this sector. Contemporary research which is happening in environment and forestry sector. I just want to brief very little to the younger generation and to the others. I have my teacher K.K. Mishra sir here also, who has trained me into this. As then field anthropologists are working, where I have come across and seen them. And last is anthropology and employability. Basically, I was doing my MSc Physics from Allahabad University. In the meantime, I got selected for Combined Defense Services and I wanted to join Army as a second lieutenant, but because of patriarchal systems, I was stopped from going. I decided to change my course and move to Hyderabad University. And that was again a good shift in my life. And that was advantage. Advantage is that now I have a background of science and social science plus. So being a physicist, working on the black holes, the dwarfs, stars, and all those things, nuclear physics, suddenly moving to anthropology was where I was more comfortable. And when I saw other discipline, I find myself, anthropology was more to my liking. Best part is how I was trained at it. SEO trained me into all the 4 disciplines. We had the 16 papers and a great teacher lot. So Professor K.K. Mishra, Professor C.G.H. Hussain Khan, Professor Venkat Rao, Professor M.L.K. Murthy, Professor Kodan Rao, Professor Subba Reddy. So they were the people who have trained us. And I can say I belong to first or second batch. Technically, that can be debated. The greatest part of our training was the field work of 30 days. We were taken to Garapinta village in Prakasham district. And the first lessons of importance of multicultural perspective training and participant observation was imbibed to us. And 10 days, our teacher led. First day, we were taken by Professor K.K. Mishra, how to get involved into a community, the whole process, then followed by C.G.H. Hussain Khan sir came, and then we last was to join Venkat Rao sir. Basically, this training was very crucial because this gentleman made us morning list of work was assigned to us. We used to go to the field, come back. In evening, after the dinner, we used to sit around and then explain whatever we have seen. And that sharpened our objectivity and observation skills. So there were questions coming up, challenging, and they were also moving it. The best part was with our team, we had a German scholar, Boulder, coming with us, who was with our university. And he trained me into mapping a village. And that skill I got, how to map a village. And that later on, what you PRA you see in village mapping, but that was a learning I got from that gentleman. So I worked first on the indigenous community, as Shalina madam says, is that on the Chenchu tribes, Chenchu community. For MPhil, I have taken a village study, Ganpati Gudam, near Patancheru, how environment and pollution affects the social system. That was I tried to see. In the meantime, after MPhil, I got my, immediately after my PG, I got my JRF. So after MPhil, I got selected by IFM. I moved and pursuing my PhD. So joined IFM and then I changed my course. Problem was when I moved to IFM, a different world, a forestry and specialists of forestry, water resource, ecologists, natural resource managers, speaking very different language. Talking about trees into scientific names, Buchnania lenges, Madmaduka indica, talking about tigers, suddenly surprised, what are they? It was something you find illiterate there. So that made me start learning about forest. I spent time learning forestry with the students, with the foresters who were with us, with the projects we got. So that made me learn the forestry in detail. And forestry is a very in-depth subject. What may be, but it's a very in-depth subject, and knowing about the types of forest, the small zones of forest, management of forest, the complexities of natural resources. So they started coming to me. With that, I moved to the sacred group study of just fruit. That was, I took it. And as a team of ecologists and me, an anthropologist, Professor Suprabha Patnaik, we both started working on it. And we got a very different picture. So learning with multidisciplinary team is very important when you're working outside the domain. And your training skill, consultancy skills has to be sharpened up. So creating space among the other discipline helped me, the anthropology helped me to have that. Basically, because anthropology makes you the rapport building exercise skills, observation skills, and the communication skills, because you're communicating with a community who is very different. So you learn the skills, and that helps you when you're communicating with the bureaucratic community or communicating other things. So that helped me a lot. I always see anthropology as a problem solving science. And if you see through the colonial period, it has been used as a problem solving tool. And Britishers used to understand the culture of it, American used to culture. With a change of context and time, anthropology is relevant, only we need to reposition itself. And that's where I see it's important. The thing which we require is multicultural aptitude, which anthropology gives us, because when I work with the community, I train villagers and I train PCCFs, so that's the range. I train international participants. That's a very, last year I trained Bhutan officers, senior officers who are doing the happiness index planning for 5-year plan of Bhutan. I'll be sharing in the end. So that's a range of people you're working. So your anthropology makes you very comfortable with this multicultural aptitude which has developed in you. The ethnography is the best of anthropology, which makes you very strong in observing and describing. The participatory research which has come up is an outcome of anthropological research tools compressed, what Robert Chamber did it later on in PRA. But where I lacked was a statistical in-depth quantitative skills. So I added on that, coming from science background, maths and all those things. So that was where area I find anthropologists need to strengthen them. Professor Sanjay was talking about me, and again, I see he must be using a lot of quantitative tools. So then I started defining the space for myself where to work about. And I went to Professor Anil Gupta in Ahmedabad, where on common property resource I mentioned. I started working for a long time with them. There are a number of agencies I have been working in the past. Basically, anthropology has to be, basically what I would like to say is anthropology is a very different discipline from sociology. What I find personally when working with there, the importance of anthropology I found very relevant, and wherever I went through in bureaucracy or in international agency or others, I find the glow in the eyes when they hear that you are an anthropologist. So that's my personal experiences which have come up. The contemporary research which I would like to talk is forestry and environment. Forest community perspective, then I think so Roy sir will be talking more, so I'll just leave it. But a lot of work is happening, and recent forest policy which is coming up 2018 draft, it is trying to talk about two movements on landscape management and second on the community forestry. So from JFM and community forestry, shift is being talked about in that, and from resource management to landscape management, and that's where community's role will enhance. Then commons I was working on it, and recent trends are happening, co-production studies where community and researchers are studying the area and trying to find out. So there is a lot of participatory and multiple team research are going on, and where anthropologists will be having a big role to play. Biodiversity is a big domain where I can see indigenous knowledge, and the FRA has a big space for biodiversity. So I studied on the biodiversity and the biodiversity register. Biodiversity boards are in all states, and they need anthropologists because every state, every community's knowledge and the practices are to be documented, registered, and IPR protections are there. So they are important aspects. Next, coming to the climate change, that is the area where we are happening. When Orlov has worked on it, so there was many projections happens from the scientists and all those things. But when Orlov went for the traditional kind of climatology study, how the community do it. When I was working on sacred course at Oraon, I do found how the community tries to interpret the climate every season and during the festival. So that was one thing I come across. Livelihood studies is a big area where we have it, and Robert Chamber, and that was again a moving socioeconomic study to the livelihood studies and giving a more space, and anthropology is a big space to do it. I moved to conflict negotiation, and World Bank project was there, and we were trying to study what are the conflicts among the communities. So the theory is there. Application to conflict and negotiation, when I started studying, I had a big problem because most of the anthropological study was over the higher population that individualistic we couldn't get it. William Ury is an anthropologist and an UN negotiator. And when I started reading him, how anthropology and negotiation can come together, and that's where I found a good space in management tools for it. Public policy is the last time we're working on it and making an implementation. All natural resource policies, anthropology is a very crucial role. I was part 2 policy making, and I could push through anthropological knowledge a lot and sensitize them on it. And participatory research is our gain. Just I'm trying to show some research which are happening, because now my time is coming to an end. So study of disaster is happening. This has been study on social relationship, then biodiversity and this aspect. Simulation studies are coming in a big way. Anthropologists are studying and simulating the cases. American anthropologists have prepared a draft document for climate change for the US. Resource conflict is an area where I could see it. So there are a lot areas are happening where in natural resources and anthropology have big space to work on. I'll leave this because time is there. Finally, I'm just coming to the concluding part. I find anthropologists everywhere. Where anthropologists can work is basically climate change adaptation. Fishery, I'm seeing there is a good scope. Forestry projects are coming up in big way. I myself is negotiating for around 1,000 crore project for JICA from Ministry of Environment and Forest, and we have a big space. Ganga Yojana is coming in where many opportunities for anthropologists are there. Watershed is there. Microfinance, where community mobilizations, all rules are applying. Lastly, business world has many to study. CSR is there, cultural organizations are there, conflict and negotiations are there. I see management are using many cases of indigenous communities to talk about leadership. The Bushman cases are there, other cases are there, and that are documented by anthropologists. So it's not that anthropologist literatures are not in use. Social marketing, I am seeing a lot being used there. Qualitative tools of ethnography is used in many ways to strengthen their issue. So just concluding, for making anthropology employability, we need to make a shift in our teaching pedagogies. That's where I am finding where we need to be coming up. Statistical tool has to be added up with the more knowledge to it, and that I'm talking about cultural anthropologists and other things. The new tools which we come across is stakeholder analysis. Already Professor Sanjay was talking about. GIS is being used a lot in mapping. Conflict analysis and institutional mapping is coming up. Department flexibility is important. Just last time, you could see this team. This was a team I found to conduct the training for Bhutan officer. And see the days of training, I need to be acting as a thread through the garland to get best out of them. So I need to know the data analytics. I need to know this. And as an anthropologist, I have to balance all the sides. Secondly, now a multi-team I'm working here on the bigger project of this NABARD, where it's a 100 crore project and we are studying 3 districts and multi-institutions are there. So anthropologists has a big role here when you are studying these communities. So just this was in nutshell.
Thank you so much, Pani sir. And your presentation was so dynamic and so engrossing. I'm sure all our listeners will be sitting glued to the chairs and they'll be wanting more and more. I do hope we get more opportunities to, have first-hand work. I know you're a very, very busy person, but it has been a very fruitful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Most grateful. And the person to come next is Professor Sri Bhagwan Roy. And I'm really, really hopeful that nobody is expecting me to introduce him. And I just welcome Professor Sri Bhagwan Roy to take the floor.
To me, or to the world, practicing anthropology is not social work. It's the application of anthropological theory at the relevant situation, examining the situation in the form of a diagnostic study. When we say diagnostic, that means is the interlinked structure of the problem. In my title, I have mentioned systemic approach. Systemic and system is not same. Systemic is the structure pattern which are interrelated, interconnected. And I tell you, none of the anthropological theory will be viewed in isolation. Here, I'm citing one case from application of anthropological theory for tribal development. Let me share one thing which I often share in my training program. If I say human development, what does it mean? If I discuss with the anthropologist, someone will say the health, other will say, no, education, some will say economy. What does it mean, human development? So the first of all, the one who is working for the development must have a clear understanding what we mean by human development, same like a tribal development. And what I'm saying, is it my own perception or it is accepted by all scientists, not only in India, globally? I'm reminded one of the story of our childhood in the school, when 6 blinds were asked to describe an elephant. You know the answer. So development becomes like this. So we must have a concrete. And what's that? It should be picturized. So the human development picture is like a triangle. The triangle's 3 angles: health, education, and the resource. This is the United Nations Human Development International Definition, HDI, Human Development Index. So if I have to go for tribal development, the human development, tribal development, I have to start thinking, what is the resource they have got? Because of the Human Development Index, I must remember 3 angles. The one, capacity building, the education. Second, the resource. So if they are trained, if they have capacity, if they have knowledge, they can manage their resources. And if they have resources, they will have a good health. So the triangle must be there. Keeping this in mind, I'm sharing with you one of the case study, how I'm going to use the practicing anthropology in tribal situation, say Ghoghra of Kabir Dham, Chhattisgarh. So the first part of, as an anthropologist, we have been told to understand the landscape, the nature and man relationship. So look at the nature, the landscape. You can see the landscape here, degraded forest. You can see the landscape. So if the forest is degrading, if the resource crunch is there, if the biodiversity loss is there, if water scarcity is there, what kind of development we are going to do that? So this is the first thing. Second important thing, I'm reminded one of my incidents while working with Ibrahim, with Casey Malhotra. We all were working, and the anthropologist Mark Poffenberg, California, he mentioned, SB, if you have to have a tribal with a forest conservation, we have to involve the forest department, government functionary. I say, no. These government functionaries do not work. They are bureaucrats. They don't understand the tribal culture. And why should they involve them? Then he asked me, if you cannot involve government functionary, do you think all the anthropologists working in the tribal area, how many anthropologists you will have? Who will work? So the anthropologist has to work how to involve the government functionary and make them more responsive. So if anthropologists can change the behavior and make the responsive, then it will work. So my first lesson, my second slide, then slide 10 please. Then one of the things we realize about bilateral matching institution, that means if you have to work for development, we have to involve the government functionary. If you cannot involve the functionary, you can keep on writing paper, document, and criticize. Nothing works, and it will not work. So years together, we keep on saying, does that work, does that work, doesn't work. So we have to see how does it work. So I'm just saying what we do during this lockdown period only, with the government DFO, we had this interaction. Next. And then after interacting, the first stage of development practitioner, of anthropologist, has to understand 2 things. The government policy, because policy, if you do not understand, you cannot implement it. And secondly, involvement of the government functionary, organizational change, behavioral change. Next. The second approach of Ebrard was eco-change approach. This is an interesting method developed by Ebrard, how to change the worldview of the community. You may be surprised whether anthropologists have got right to change the worldview. This is, my dear friend, if you go through the cognitive anthropology, the emic point of view, how community view the current situation, number one, and how they can think for changing it, altering. So sensitizing the community, finding answer with them, this is known as cognitive change behavior of the worldview. I'm not talking the detail, the internet is there, the link is there, one can there. And then this worldview changing have got the economic development and participatory. All these three, what I'm saying, I have given a link here. It is internationally printed in journal, the method of how to cognitive change worldview, how to involve community in activity, and how to involve in participatory development. All three are references international purpose. Here, so after involving the government, the second step involving community, that wherever you want to work, we establish a local ghotul kind of prashikhan shivir, a hub, a jhopri, a hut, where the community will be discussing periodically and learn. This is the capacity building approach of capacity building and sensitive change. This is on the concept of tribal dormitory. And here the technical training is given. Next, this is the Nedam in Odisha and Chhattisgarh. Whatever approach method have been there, it is standard method being applied step by step. This step by step is a kind of a manual. Next, now under the Prashikhan Shivir, here the number of anthropological theory. Since it's a question of livelihood, one of the important we have learned, Malinowski, in order to meet the physiological need, community have got some structure and institution. So we have to understand for physiological meeting the need, what are the current structure, what are the social structure, what are the institution, and what the change is needed. I repeat here, what the change is needed. Normally, we anthropologists, we are not to suppose the change. We are not supposed to change the culture. I say no. If something is wrong, we have to change. And if you don't change, somebody else will change. See, Durkheim, what they are saying, it keep on evolving. And external factors changes social structure more powerfully than your internal structure. It's a question we can discuss on that, how the change of social structure. And in the political, what Raymond Firth has mentioned on the choice state of analysis, that we have to follow about the community, how economic activities are linked with the political and what kind of skill. And with that, the definition, what Tyler has mentioned about the culture, I will take 1 minute, very important about the culture and Tyler what they mentioned. Normally we mention during our training program, we have studied culture is a complex whole. What whole? The whole of knowledge, belief, art. So what knowledge community has got is a part of the belief. What is to be done, what is not to be done. And it is linked with the moral. And what custom they have got, we have to change if it is not helping them today. The last part of the Taylor definition, the compatibility and the habit. So unless we learn to change the compatibility of the community, unless we learn how to develop new habits, we cannot go for development. If we are anthropologists, if we study the definition, if we follow the definition, we understand the meaning of definition, without compatibility and changing of the habit of the community, we cannot go there. Next, I'll show you quickly in next 3-4 minutes. So how to do that? So here with the community, we ask them, This is a standard method of participatory rural appraisal. The community discuss where are the water, canal, and then on the left-hand side, on the face up, they have described it. The right one is from the Odisha, the left one is from the Ghogra. What I wanted to share is standard method. If it is scientific, it is applicable in different fields. So this is the standardization of method. This is very, very important to standardize the method, and you develop a manual, people can do it. Next. Next, please. Yeah. So here, the trade-off analysis and the framework, we have worked in European country. I am humbled to share that this method, what Ibrahim has been working through 4 years research, it is a part of international 34 organizations globally. And from Asia, Ibrahim has been the one partner with the European Union, and it is published on 24 cases globally, in which what case study I am sharing. Next. Here, now the villagers discuss about it, and they sign a resolution. And they also learn how to write the cash book, cash flow. So the training must have got outcome, and the outcome must be reflected, and such kind of reflection, resolution by them. Next. I have got 3 minutes. So what are the changes? Look at that, how the traditional knowledge, with the worldview changing, I repeat the word, worldview changing, cognitive can help in adoption of technology. Transfer of technology is one you are giving, but adoption of technology is another very important part of anthropology. How to create enabling environment for adoption of technology. If you can see the picture, this is Baiga of Chhattisgarh. And all these training are done through digital. We have not gone to the field. Through digital training, digital ethnography, in last 6 months we have done. You see how they have learning. If you can watch the wire they have kept, the spanner and the green shade where they are learning how to develop the plant nursery. Next, I'm just showing some of the example of transfer of technology. This is the vermicompost. Earthworm using the Baiga. They are using organic farming. This is another part of transfer of technology. The concept of transfer of technology and adoption of technology. Adoption is possible only when you change the worldview. Worldview can be changed when we understand the fundamental of cognitive anthropology. That is the pattern of knowledge, not one part of knowledge. Next. Next. Please. Here. This is the primitive tribe, another primitive tribe from Odisha. Another example of Mankadia, Devga, Baripada. Through digital training, we have trained them step by step about the organic farming. I'm just showing you the outcome, not the process. Process will take time. Next. Next. Here, how the villagers and anthropologists can work together in identifying the channel of water, the man and nature relationship, and conservation. This is very, very important as per the Act, also Biological Diversity Act. As an anthropologist, I have to know what are the act of the country, what are the policy of the country. Without understanding the act, without understanding the policy, we are not going to implement. Next. Next. These are the outcome. Is again from Baripada. They have developed traditional medicine herbarium. Those rare plants which were dying, they have started cutting for livelihood. Next. These are again herbal medicine, revival of traditional medicine. I say revival of tribal medicine, revival of tradition is one side, and I repeat, transfer of technology is on the other. Sometimes we'll discuss how the marriage is about the relevancy of traditional knowledge and merger with the scientific. This is another domain of study of anthropology. It comes again in cognitive anthropology and the culture. Next, here, last half a minute I will take. This is the traditional knowledge, those traditional knowledge which are relevant. I repeat, all traditional knowledge may not be relevant. All scientific knowledge may not be relevant. We have to identify which are relevant. These are some of the crop, millet, maize, kodo, which are of the traditional. They have more nutritional value. They can be grown with less water, and they have got better biological resource. So how to have a seed bank so that the community grow with that. So we are developing seed bank, the baiga, conservation of the rare medicinal plant, conservation of rare seeds. Those seeds which have got more nutrition value, they have got pest control, they take less water, and also cost effective. Next. Now, this is just, did not I tell what are the outcome, how we are going to the research network, what kind of knowledge we are developing with that. We are doing short certificate course on manual, other thing. Next. Finally, since time was short, I just wanted to share the outcome, not the process, because for each one, there are short courses. So thank you very much. I'm sorry, maybe I have taken 4 or 5 minutes more. Thank you. Last one, we all apply to digital technology, and it is found on the YouTube. You can find on the website what methods I have mentioned. The link is given. On European Union, there are 240 world practicing anthropologists literature. Irati is one of them. So there you will find, if you search on internet, eco chain, just eco chain, you'll find the top article of Irati. If you find trade-off analysis, what Raymond Firth mentioned about the economic analysis, how Irati has used, there are 5 globally research paper on the international trade-off analysis. You'll find trade-off analysis SB Roy. You'll find 3rd research paper globally by European Union. If you find participatory biodiversity management of the tribal, you'll find top on the Google most such paper, participatory biodiversity management, all by anthropologists. I am grateful to all those anthropologists, Dr. K.C. Malhotra. I remember Professor Rotho. I remember Professor I.P. Singh, who are all founded this Irati during 1987-88. So these are the contribution of anthropological knowledge. It is not a social work. It's a research, but application of research is a very, very challenging, but very satisfying. On the International Happy Day, we share the joy, how we help the community, smile, sharing, let it go, spread development, and people feel, wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Srivakant Roy. It's been amazing. Your path-breaking and pioneering work is a great source of inspiration for all of us. And I'm sure all the younger lot of anthropologists, the budding lot of anthropologists, will get a lot of inspiration from you, sir. The kind of work you're doing, kindly keep doing it and keep showing us how to go ahead. I now call upon Dr. Solomon Salve. He is working as a senior manager in the socio-behavioral research at the International AIDS Initiative in the India office. I call upon Dr. Solomon Salve to please take the floor.
Good evening to one and all, and my sincere gratitude to all senior anthropologists on the panel at this moment of time. Special high regards to Professor R.K. Mutatkar, Professor Anjali Kurne, Dr. Baga, who is also on the panel at this moment, Sanjay Zoekar, and all my colleagues and friends. This is a great opportunity for me personally to be part of this forum and present the smallest work that I have been doing at this moment of time. I'm not very highly expert anthropologist, but learning to practice anthropology day by day. Because I don't say anthropology as a discipline, but more as a calling to bring change in the society, a calling to bring smiles on faces which are ignored in maybe policy formation or in the programs that are dealt with. So with due respect to all of you, I would like to move on to the next slide. So how do I identify myself? I do identify myself as a student of anthropology and public health. Started a journey in the Department of Anthropology, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. Was brought up and learned my skills of getting into the field and doing the bits at the Maharashtra Association of Anthropological Sciences. Further nurtured at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine during my PhD course. And since then, like every opportunity, every project that has been coming my way, it's giving me an opportunity to polish my existing skill and contribute meaningfully to the discipline of public health. How do I see anthropology, or the position that I hold in every work that I've been doing is like I resonate with what Clifford Geertz says, that anthropology is not an experimental science in search of law, but an interpretive one in search of meaning. And I think that's what we all tend to do. We try to understand the meanings behind each and everything. As Professor rightly said, like it's not about doing social work. It's trying to understand the world and trying to understand the meaning people bring to that kind of a world. Some of my slides would sound very basic to most of you, but since that would put my work in perspective, I would still go with this, like fieldwork, as we all know, is at the heart of the discipline of anthropology. And that is what it gives it a unique identity, and it separates it from other disciplines like sociology, political science, economic, and so on. It's basically to get inside the way people or respondents or your study community would see the world. But what lies at the heart of fieldwork is the word relationship. And I've been working with this word since my PhD, and like I feel that there's a lot over there if one can cash upon this relationship. And that's why, as an anthropologist, we all, like especially all our senior anthropologists who have contributed a lot to this field, they have demonstrated to their work that what they could achieve was because they could establish this relationship with the community, with the people, with the respondents they were working with. And I think that building of relationship between the community and the researcher lies very much at the heart of anthropology, at the heart of fieldwork. So I would like to draw some learnings and some kind of an experiences which I would like to share from the research work that I conducted for my PhD, and like that has formed a base for my work thereafter that has been doing. And I feel like going back to that work and bringing out some insights would be a meaningful thing at this moment of time. So Professor Zoecker has already helped us understand the health system and the public health part. So this is what the public-private mix for tuberculosis implementation structure would look like. People who work with health system may be quite familiar with these kind of diagrams. So the dark gray areas were the place where I wanted to look in terms of how public-private partnership for tuberculosis is implemented. And the position I took was like drawing on the ethnographic work, the ethnographic thing. But then the question would arise, like, why bring anthropology into health systems? Definitely because anthropology is unique in its humanistic perspective and holistic in its outlook. It is interpretive and relativistic, and that gives it an unique position to fill in the gaps between the normative constructs and the practical knowledge of the day-to-day. The top-down and the bottom-up policy implementation, the macro versus the macro kind of thing. But more than that, the approaches that we as medical anthropologists would bring in to health system is like looking at health system as cultural systems, full of ideas, full of meanings. Health systems as social and political enterprise and social relations. And that's why relationships matter within health systems. Even in the context of health system or even in public health, Over the years, people have learned to cherish the importance of anthropology. Although there is a tendency sometimes researchers practicing hardcore public health would see anthropology just from a point of a qualitative research or using some kind of in-depth interviews just from a method kind of a thing. But anthropology is more than that. It helps us build a relationship with the community that we are working with. So my field work, well, like basically draws on a 14-month of ethnographic work did in a southern part of the country, which encompassed making links with the people, engaging with them on a day-to-day basis, and becoming part of their lives. What are the important experiences that I bring to the table this evening? Well, rapport establishment and identifying key actors. Well, I take pride over here to say that it took 3 to 4 months of time to build a meaningful rapport with the staff at the TB center with whom I was engaged with. And during this 3 months of time, there's a lot of hanging around that went with, going for a drink, having a cup of tea, coffee, eating local spicy snacks at street stall. But at the same time, there was also this fear like, will this really help me or will it progress anywhere? But yes, as we most of us have witnessed, that rapport establishment does help. It takes us, it grounds you in the community that you are working and gives you an opportunity, opens up new opportunities in the field. And then definitely when you reflect on this shifting of positions you see from moving from an outsider to insider. So in the very first month of my field work, like I was being perceived as someone, as a PhD student coming from London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, or someone whom my director has referred to. Then the next stage came where I was perceived as a burden because I had to share a common office space with the frontline TB workers. And then the identity changes to acceptance as a friend kind of a thing. Identifying actors, so it's not only interacting with people at the ground, but also reaching at the policy level. And the relationship that I developed with this people at the bottom level, they helped me to reach at the Ministry of Family Health and Welfare and do meaningful dialogues with these people at the top level. Participant observation, yes, it was intertwined with my entire research. These are some of the interesting quotes that came from my field diary, where I could not only observe, but also during the course of interview, could understand the context in which the behavior was situated, not only in the office setting, but also at the field visit, trying to understand what people do and why they behave the way they do. Challenges and learnings that I bring to this table, because yes, ethnographic research initiates with rapport establishment, but there is also and always this fear of like whether this rapport establishment will really happen, whether our respondents will respond to us, kind of a thing. But spending a considerable time and being patient is the only answer to this. Ethnography brings its flexibility, but sometimes that flexibility may also affect your work on a day-to-day basis, and you need to have backup plans. Ethical considerations arise as you move on with informal discussions and observations, but being sensitive to what people are saying, respecting what they are, and making them aware that what you are doing is purely from a research point of view would help you overcome that ethical dilemmas. Balancing the relationship, friend and a researcher, I realized that there were a lot of emotional turmoils that started happening towards the midway of the field work, where I wanted to be close with a lot of friends whom I started working with along. But then as a researcher, you also need to maintain that balance. And I feel like I took that position to strike a balance between being a friend and a researcher. Reciprocity in maintaining those relationships also comes very importantly, because it's not only that we are doing a research, that means people need to do something for you. It also, in turn, we need to contribute. We need to help them in different ways in the opportunities that would come. And lastly, I would say that relationship between researchers and people are complex, but they are crucial. And fieldwork revolves around building those relationships. But relationships should sustain beyond fieldwork. And in absence of such relationship, the value of research remains doubtful, and the ability to translate people's voices and perspective at policy level remains uncertain. So these are some of the ways which I adopted in order to transmit the voices of people at different national and international forums. Not only that, linking with anthropologists across the globe from different universities and trying to present the work in a meaningful way. So that could be taken not only by the local policies or the national policies, but also by the global policies. Where do I stand today in terms of practicing anthropology? I think I have gradually developed my interest in health policy and systems research, particularly using anthropological lens to study complex organizational relations and contribute to health system strengthening by focusing on the health workforce and community engagement component. And I think I feel proud to say that I'm an anthropologist because I could value people and respect them. So thank you so much for your patient here. And I once again would like to thank UIF for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon. That was really, really good. I would like to call upon the next speaker, Dr. Subramanian Arthi Konale.
Namaste to all. So, all with senior anthropologist Professor Behra, Professor Rajani, and like our senior Bradker, I am a small guy in the field of anthropology because I started studying anthropology when I was very young as a schoolboy. Not formally. When I had my Upanayanam, what we call as, then I was taught about my identity, my geographic spatial identity, according to my temporal identity, and I belong to a community, I belong to a school of thought, culture. Later, a small book by Ramana Maharshi, Who Am I? Made me inquire more anthropologically myself. I'm a man, so I started inquiring about man. Later, when I went to some Upanishads also, there were questions about what is the purpose of man, what is doing, and all these things. But as today's Happiness Day, I would like to begin with these two things. One thing is what I learnt as Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, let all be happy and happy. And other thing is Sahana Bhavatu. So my whole work is all based on two things, as a matter of fact. One, how you can work for happiness of all, and how you can Sahaviryam Karavavahai, you can all work together from within the community. It is in this line will be my presentation. And my particular work in anthropology, formally, I started looking at book of anthropology. When I started studying anthropology, I did not read out of anthropology, to tell you very frankly. It's only later when I was studying my BSc, I had a friend after his BSc, what to do? I told study anthropology. Then when he was studying anthropology in university, I used to look at his books and I learned about the formal anthropology with the Greek origin of the term and Khaldin and all these people, how the anthropology book first came some in 13th or 14th centuries. So this is how things came. But anyway, later of course, I have told somebody to study anthropology. Under him, I did my PhD also, for your information. It's all by his affection for me. But as a practicing anthropologist, what I did, I can say, is my idea is to take anthropology to the people. It is so how anthropological principles are applied to make people think anthropologically. So I again, along with the philanthropy. Philanthropy does not mean some rich man is giving some money. It is loving human being. So how this love can become a force to develop one's own community. And that is why I thought how community can involve itself in introspecting itself. There is a rather, with the Professor Bhatt and all, we worked and we developed a method of community introspection. Actually, I was little associated with the fieldwork of I used to visit the fields of these anthropologists. Mark Nitter was doing in medical anthropology in my place, and Professor Bhatt was doing in some village. At that time, he was not professor, he's a student. So I understood the anthropology method of studying and all these things. I thought a person, whether he's in formal anthropology school as an anthropology student or not, a school teacher, a villager, everybody is in the village, with the people, he can involve himself with the people and do things. This is how I thought anthropology can be done. And just to give one or two examples, I'll tell you, I made a school of a boy of class 8 to study the dental care habits of his village. In his village, people are not brushing teeth. And they used to all have, majority of have tooth pain. They used to believe, due to the poisoning of food, to please some malignant deity, people are getting tooth pain. But when he started going and inquiring, Simply did inquiry, what are you doing, what all these things. Total behavior changed. And then I just thought Mahatma Gandhi wanted in Champaran, this Indigo movement. He did not do much. He went to villagers. Now, what is your problem? What is your problem? He was asking. And a total conscious people started working for the freedom of the country. So this is how, if you can set in introspection in the community, we can do it. That is what I found. And as an anthropological approach understands, again, I would like to refer to Professor Bhatt, when he was working with the, some leprosy project, people are not ready to go to take treatment. Leprosy means there is a social stigma. He is simply a simple principle. He understood stigma. He told, so this is Taddu, this is skin disease. If it is not treated, it will turn into leprosy. That's a simple thing. All villagers came by themselves. So this is how I thought certain anthropological principles can be applied. And now, I would not, this one or two examples I am telling what I did. Then again, long back, in a so-called, I do not use the word tribal, we are all human beings. So what we call a tribal village in normal in anthropological platforms. A small school girl, I sent her to study the medical behavior, how they treat the patients with their own systems. A wonderful effect. Young people started, instead of going for paracetamol, they started going to their field sites or forests nearby and collect things. Whenever they got a headache or something. It's behavior changed in a village. This is how I thought I could work. So what I am telling is, if we want anthropology for the happiness of all on this happiness day, we should involve all. It is not only the, see, anthropologist is in the field, but unfortunately, anthropology is inside the libraries or inside seminars. What I see, if I go to many universities, there is an anthropology department for so many years, and when I meet people of other departments, they do not know what is anthropology. What is anthropology? This is the situation. Anthropology is still inside the cocoon, but anthropologist is in the field. So this situation has to change. This is what I believe. So what I'm thinking is, one thing we have to enhance, empower, enrich our anthropology by what I first started telling. I studied anthropology from Ramana Maharshi's small book. I studied anthropology with my Sankalpa after Upanayana and in Upanishads. So in Mahabharata, Manava Dharma Shastra, what you call Manusmriti. I told this cultural, what you call marriage cultural disparities, what they call now, or in 1964, I think in Vatican Council, they took marriage cultural disparities, this type of things, the Viloma Vivaha, Anuloma Vivaha, all I found in all those books. So this past that is continuing now, the crisis nowadays, love jihad, the continuity is also there, all these problems. Anyway, so these things we must see how things have come, how things are managed. Conflicts were there, how conflicts are managed, how a pluralistic community lived. We can see from our own history if we can go to the text. That's why my PhD work I did text and context approach. How texts are used, how it can be done. So we should go through the text. This one point I'm telling. We must use this text of especially in Indian context, and in other contexts there may not be written text as in Indian context, but there may be many oral texts may be there also, which may be useful. And we should have interactions with the people to know their anthropological approach also. Because societies have come up. Though we may not teach it in our formal anthropology course, because not from Greece or France or England or America, where mainly we thought anthropology developed as a discipline, and later it came to India. So that is why we must make anthropology also local, in the sense from the local knowledge how anthropology developed, we must make it enhance its scope. And after taking this knowledge, then only we will be able to, it's not simply as an intervention, but as an introspection of itself, that inspiring and motivation is more important than intervention. This is what I am thinking. So that is why our objective of why anthropology. What is anthropology? How is anthropology? A lot of things are there, but why anthropology? This also should be very clear. Anthropology is for the happiness of all. Otherwise, there is no meaning. There is so much scientific development. If it is to bomb the people, what is of the scientific development? We are trying to make anthropology a science. In the initial, we are all trying to make it a science rather than humanities or other subjects like this. So what is the use of that science? What is it of that science? If we become dry, or we cannot grow anything, we cannot get food in the name of science. And that is why I'm thinking anthropology is what is basically human. Ahara nidra bhayametunancha samana metad pashubir naranam. These four things: food, sleep, common to animal and man. What is that specialty in man? So that humanistic aspect, that should come forward in our mission, in our objective, in our vision, in our approach. That is what I am thinking. Our anthropology is basically the knowledge, the vision. We must go to who are not anthropologists with formal degrees, and they may be teachers, they may be doctors, they may be farmers. Even there we can introduce this concept, anthropological concept. We can collect from them. We should not go to them only to collect in our field notes about how they are cooking, how they are eating, but how they are thinking, how they are managed the village, how the historically they have come. This also we can study. I think our anthropology for the world we can benefit more. India is a place, if you go to Atharvaveda, very beautifully it explains in a map. We are taking
Professor Karve,
yes.
Can I please request you to shorten?
1 or 2 minutes.
All right. You can understand two more people. I would be grateful if you could wind up.
1 or 2 minutes, that's all.
Sure.
So, this pluralistic life, there are people with different languages, different type of food habits, costumes, how they were living, how they should live. These things, and I told 7 types of different methods recognized systems of marriage in Manav Shastra. It is a study, and how they managed it, recognize it. I give it what you call, validate it. They will say, oh, this marriage is not connected, only if it's registered in the registered office is marriage. No, they don't say. They don't say if they follow this particular ritual, only it's a marriage. They manage these things. Now it's a time where the world, every man looks at other man with suspicion, every country, every community, the other community. So we got a lot of anthropological things, how the society community is managed, we can study, we can apply the modern context. I call upon the anthropologists, I request them, I cannot say call upon, I'm an ordinary man. I request them, let us have a vision of anthropology and Indian anthropology, because our United Indian Anthropology Forum. So I tell, let us have an Indian anthropology with an anthropological vision, in an anthropological mission. Let us have, and with this thing, I would like to thank all those people of our United Anthropological Forum, as well as the Pune University, who have given an opportunity, and the people have given a little time to present whatever I want. And I thank you all for giving a patient hearing. And I hope that we'll go into action in this line as far as possible to make the world happy and being this International Happiness Day. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Professor Karve. It was a very, very moving presentation where you reminded the anthropologists again that anthropologists are in the field, but anthropology is still sitting there in the corridors of knowledge. I guess we need to get that amalgamation. Thank you very much, Professor Karve. And I'm sorry, we will definitely have more time at other fora. Can I now request Dr. Shrikant Patil to make his presentation, please?
Namaskar, all my seniors and my guru. I think at the outset, I would like to thank UIAF and Savitribai Phule Pune University for giving me this opportunity. Okay,
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I have titled it Anthropology, Practice and Perspective, Making a Better World. Now, what does it mean? So this is my flow of presentation, Making a Better World, Why Anthropology Matters. I have 2 small case studies. I think I'll not go through it. And then I'll tell what I do in Ipsos. There couldn't be a better time than today to peep into the challenges and perspective of anthropology, engaging with people when we are celebrating the International Day of Happiness. Now, who could contribute to making a better or a happy place to live in? None other than the anthropologist. They are trained to be human. I am not biased in saying this. I do mean it. And there are every reason to emphasize on this particular subject. Let me quote Eric Wolf, who described anthropology as the most humanistic of the sciences and most scientific of humanities. And he's also absolutely right. Anthropology as a subject makes a man. It introduces certain trait and quality, which I'll explain a little later. You all are doyen of anthropology, and I'll not be talking about anthropological tools and methods, and I have learned from you. So that will be not nice to talk about different methods. But what I am trying to emphasize upon here is what leads to a happiness is involvement of anthropologists in different different social maladies. To ameliorate different social maladies, their involvement is very, very essential. Today there are a lot of social maladies which has got political origin, economic, biological, health oriented, climatological, ecological origins, which can be understood in its context of occurrence, and the anthropologist can effectively provide solutions. In this, in the World Happiness Report, what we see today is India trails at the 144th rank as per the 2020 report, and the Nordic countries are the happiest lot of all. Why it is so in case of India? We live in a multicultural, pluralistic, globalized, and interconnected world, leading to possibilities, all kind of possibilities of dissonance between cultures, between communities, and group of people. Diversity in India is overwhelming. There has to be an effort to blend this diversity into a salad bowl, which together can, produce a great taste. But unfortunately, the biggest curse of humanity today is the cultural myopia we are in, leading to various social maladies. Anthropology teaches the other ways of being, the other ways of thinking, the other ways of orienting oneself in the earth. It instilled in them the doctrine of Sudaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, thereby empowering them with tolerance and acceptance of the others. This is what anthropology does. Why anthropology matters? If you become tolerant, if you become, say, you're accepting the others, it is very important. I would say that make everybody an anthropologist, and then happiness would lose its meaning. Everybody would be happy. I'm not professing that anthropology solves the problem facing humanity, but it gives its practitioners skills and knowledge that enable them to tackle complex questions in a very competent and relevant ways. The method that we use, the method I have been using, whatever I have learned little during my formative years, the framework of cultural relativism to understand ethnographic realities and context is really helping me a lot. Because of the fine-grained methodology, anthropologists are capable of making the invisible visible. I mean, please, I would like to underline this statement. Many things which is not visible to the policymakers or the planners are not getting addressed. And it is the anthropological lens that makes it visible. In market research, because I come from Ipsos, there are market research divisions. They have been using a lot of business anthropology, which contribute significant to understand why people buy things the way they are doing. How do economic system works? How do different model work? Why are we attracted to certain kind of advertisement and not others? All these are primarily, primarily stems from anthropological, understanding, anthropological knowledge. Of course, large scale demographic trends are important, but because our marketplace is so diversified that it's no longer predicting, the trends. So it's very, very important that the anthropological knowledge is utilized. What we need to do is we have to align ourselves a little bit. Maybe, some of my previous speakers, they have mentioned about, a bit of, alignment in the course curriculum, or, some kind of new skills to be added to the classical anthropological, curriculum, and that's going to really benefit people. Those who are at the helm of affairs, they do not have the wherewithal to understand, how to go about bringing in the change in the life of the people. I did a study for, during my PhD, I was studying a very primitive tribal community in Odisha, and we all know what problem they face. But most often than not, people don't understand the why and how questions, and so it doesn't, come into their policy making, framework where these issues are not addressed. So let me not go through all the slides. So what I was just trying to hint at is I have been using a lot of the cultural relativism framework and ethnography, and these are mostly modified. And I have not developed this. Market research organization has been using this for so many years, maybe 30-40 years now. They've been using this, and what I'm hinting at is there is a lot of scope for our budding anthropologists to come forward and join market research agencies and any other social research agencies, and can contribute to the society significantly. So the place where I work is Ipsos. At Ipsos, we provide true understanding about society, market, people. We participate in social policy improvement, design and implementation part, communication, evaluation, advisory services. Some of our publication is there here. If anybody is interested, can get in touch with me. One is like Humanity Divided. We have studied the Rohingyas, Austies, Women and Water, a Ripple Effect. Then we have understandings. We have series for understanding society, where we have putting people in the picture, a woman's world, beyond populism, and perils of perceptions. So these are some of the work that Ipsos does globally. Ipsos is present in 93 countries. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Patil. I'm so grateful to you, and thank you. Can I now request Dr. Madhulika Sahu to please take up this floor?
Respected dignitaries, colleagues, and my dear friends, I'm really grateful to Dr. Behra for giving me this opportunity to speak in this important forum. And I'm also grateful to my Professor Anjali Kurane for introducing me to United India Anthropology Forum. I see a lot of my professors are here, Dr. Amrita Baga and Dr. Akhil Bihari Ota. So I'm really happy to see all my professors today in this International Happiness Day. In fact, it really make me happy. Yeah, so the topic I have chosen to speak today is the importance of digitalization and the role of anthropologists practicing anthropology in the world of digitalization. It is the digital world which has actually made us meet today, in this Google Meet. So now we are not surprised that now, artificial intelligence has been playing an important role. So, that's my topic, practicing anthropology in the world of digitalization. Can you please go to the next slide, please? So how did I started my journey, and how did I ended off, from practicing anthropology to the world of digitalization? So my journey started with my first field work under guidance of Professor Akhil Bihari Ota at Raghurajpur village in Orissa, where I first time practiced anthropology, cultural anthropology, and used all those ethnographic techniques that I had learned in my class. With this journey, I went to Pune and I I did my master's under the guidance of Professor Anjali Kurane. There where I realized there are more to explore, and I went to UK for my second master's degree and did a MA in refugee studies in the UK at the University of East London. So that gave me a whole lot of arena to work on interdisciplinary area, where a lot of people from different backgrounds, there were not just anthropologists around me, there were people from psychology background, there were people from English background, there were people from history. So there were a whole lot of people from different backgrounds from where I learned a lot, and I did my work on Sri Lankan Tamil asylum seekers in London. After coming back, I worked with different organizations in India. I worked with Vasundhara as a prominent organization working on Forest Right Act, and also was associated with Toronto University. And then I ended up getting a fellowship with Anthropological Survey of India, where I realized there are a lot many things I can actually link and work using my anthropological skills. So I ended up joining VIT AP. Can you please go to the next slide, please? VIT AP, where I teach anthropology soon after my PhD at NIT Rourkela, where I actually learned how technology plays an important role if you really link anthropology in a multidisciplinary setup. So anthropology is now playing a very important role in liberal arts education. Now many IITs and NITs are having anthropology as a subject. So I teach anthropology to technical students, to BTech students, PV students, master students at VIT AP, Vellore Institute of Technology in Andhra Pradesh. So in Andhra Pradesh VIT, we have experiential based learning to business students. As many of you, like Professor Roy and Professor Amitav mentioned, that anthropology has to adapt. The anthropology has to adapt, and of course anthropology techniques has been used by business scholars a lot. I teach business students. I teach on ethnography a lot. They do field work. Even though they don't go field work as we classical anthropologists do, they go for a short field work. So that's where the challenges lie, where they don't spend much of time with the community. They observe the community and come back and share and try to link their work with the main core subject. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this are the work done by my students. So if you see in the left-hand side, there is the work they did with different communities, and they came back to the university and did a exhibition of their work, presenting their work to the university, and it was much appreciated. And then the right-hand side, if you see, this is the assignment which I gave to my students, to my BTech students, where they had to link anthropology knowledge with their engineering skills to do a development in the community, in the tribal community. Now they know what anthropology is. Now they know who the tribes are. Now they have to link, their technology, engineering technology, with how they are actually practically going to implement in the field. I remember Professor Roy had interviewed some of my students who went for a fellowship program there in his organization to actually to work on engineering and anthropology together. So that is the beauty of anthropology. That's what I inculcate and I transfer to my students. What I have learned and been teaching my students all throughout. So what innovation I've been doing relating to anthropology, science and technology in the place like VIT. Many people question me like, what do you actually teach in VIT? That's not an university. That's a engineering college. That's an engineering university. What how you explore. I remember Dr. Solomon came to my university to do an ethnographic workshop, and he was surprised to see like the kind of orientation that has been done, and he in fact gave me really good suggestion to start with a course, relating to if I really want to do something. So with this, I started a new course on anthropology of technology, which gives more idea on how engineering students or business students going to link anthropology and technology. I'm also started a new project in collaboration with computer science faculty on this project. I have proposed with Department of Science and Technology on novel deep learning approach in studying cyberbullying amongst the youth in India, because now after COVID, many youths are depending on this digital platform. So many cyberbullying are happening. I wrote a paper on this recently, which published in a Springer journal. I'm also started a interdisciplinary book on ethnography. It's an edited volume. I'm writing with Professor Anjali Rane and my dean, Professor Jayvalu. He's from IIM. So that the book is on the theory and application in social sciences and business, where we will be talking more of ethnography and how it has been used in many other disciplines like psychology, sociology, English literature, in women's studies, and many other disciplines as well. So yeah, that's something we are looking up to. So hopefully we'll come up with a good contribution. Okay, and also I propose to work on studying the innovative indigenous healthcare practices and techniques used by the tribal communities protecting themselves from COVID-19. This is something my pet project, and I really wanted to study. And some of my colleagues has been inspiring me to go ahead and to study how they are coping with COVID-19 and what are the innovative techniques they've been using. So these are the innovation that I have started at being at the BITAP. Now, way forward. What anthropology, as Professor Amitav and Professor Roy just very interestingly mentioned, that we have to adapt with the changing, culture and changing technology. So in this digital world where humans are depending on machine than human, it is important anthropologist has to play an important role. No doubt, culture and technology is been playing a very important role, no matter in what era anthropologists study. May it be Malinowski, may it be Franz Boas, they all study the change the community go through. So new technology that we are now have to explore is artificial intelligence, the rising agendas of automation, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and computational structures are necessary for designing anthropologists to address, how we anthropologists should enter into this, we should venture and do something innovation using artificial intelligence. So yeah, COVID-19 pandemic has made us depend on artificial intelligence, supported contract tracing apps. I remember my university has started Code Tantra to write exams. Students are writing exams online. So we really have to venture into this artificial intelligence and see where we can contribute as an anthropologist. With this, I conclude by sharing some article. Can we go to the next slide, please? So these are very interesting article on anthropology and artificial intelligence. So in this beautiful day of International Happiness Day, I would like to share a quote by Ruth Benedict. The purpose of anthropology is to make the world safe for human differences. With this, I end my presentation. Thank you all for patiently listening to me. Thank you.
Wow, that was really fast. Thank you so much, Madhurika ma'am. And we've had a scintillating array of speakers today who've given us a lot of provocative thought, from applying anthropology appropriately to relevance and repositioning. I mean, Professor Juvekar, Professor Amitav Pandey, Professor Sri Bhagwan Roy, Dr. Solomon Salve, Dr. Kanali, Dr. Shrikant Patil, and Dr. Madhurika Sahu. I'm most grateful to you. You really put up a lot of thought-provocative ideas in front of us. And I would now like to open with the permission of Professor Behera to the floor to any questions that may be required.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lamba. It was a great symposium, I would say. All the 7 presentations were unique and very impressive. And we heard all the practicing anthropologists, how they have been successfully using knowledge of anthropology in their respective field, in their respective profession. I would request Professor Gregory to do a summing up before proposing a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Behra. And thank you very much for all the panelists who have made a wonderful presentation, and Dr. Lamba, who has been very what I can say, diligent to keep the time, not to exceed beyond, so that we can conclude at the earliest. To sum up, in fact, Professor Sanjay Juvekar was very much on his topic to bring the message home that how in the area, in the field of health, we can bring wonders by linking the public and the patient involvement. How we can come out with new modes of engagement, and thereby anthropology could be a real answer to the medical field and medical context in which anthropology could be very much become an engaged discipline. Professor Amitabh Pandey, he was very much in his experience in the Indian Institute of Forest Management, he has been talking about different aspects, including landscape management, community forestry, biodiversity register, climate change, and all these new and innovative areas where anthropology could very well be applied. Professor Sri Bhagavan Rai, in his usual and very emphatic style, has been presenting how the participatory approach could be of very much useful in bringing anthropology to become really engaged, particularly his eco-chain approach, how to change the worldview of the community. And what is the requirement for changing the worldview of the community? What is the essentiality of changing the worldview of the community? And how that can be done through applying the participatory technology and methods, participatory rural appraisal. Dr. Solomon Salve has very clearly brought out the researcher and community relationship. He was focusing on the relationship aspect and how, as a field worker, we can really bring wonders and what lies at the heart of the field work, and how we can bring experiences in learning in the field of, particularly in the field of health system, and his important experiences on his own rapport establishment, identifying the key actors and the fear of how the rapport establishment would be of help in understanding the contextual situations, and ultimately how ethnography brings flexibility and how it provides a new ray of hope in the context of emotional turmoil, etc. Professor Dr. Subramania Bharati Konale, he very philosophically dealt with the entire presentation, starting from, and he said that he started learning anthropology when he was a boy. So anthropology has become a starting point from since his childhood, and he landed in anthropology accidentally, and he picked up anthropology after he completed his post-graduation, and how in his action approach in anthropology could be of very much useful to bring happiness for the happiness of the world. Anthropology is the key for the happiness of the world. Dr. Srikant Patel he also describes how he strayed on to anthropology and how we can make a better world. And there is, anthropology could make the world better than any other discipline he was establishing. And he was focusing on why anthropology matters and how we have to look at the problems and why people do the way they do from an anthropological lens. Then we will come out with the real kind of understanding which would be of very much helpful in making the world better. And finally, Dr. Madhulika Sahu focused on the importance of digitalization, and she also focused on the new areas, including the artificial intelligence, where anthropology could bring new insights and new learnings, and it can link how anthropology can link the business world and the people. Ultimately, what we see today is everyone has come out with a different, as Professor Behra pointed out, a unique kind of presentation, and we have a lot more things to learn from each of these presentations. I am sure that it has opened and expanded the horizons of anthropology in applying anthropology to the practical problems and practical issues and practical concerns. And I think we have many things to take away lessons from this webinar. I am thankful to all the panelists for making a wonderful presentation, and particularly Dr. Lamba for moderating it in an excellent way. Thank you very much. And coming to the last agenda of, as already pointed out, the 22nd webinar had been postponed to 30th March, and therefore everyone should, I hope, will note it. And also the forum is looking forward for more technically savvy people, because we have many important agenda and a vision to realize, and therefore we need technical people to join the technical team. And anyone who volunteers to be part of this technical team may please inform the president or secretary of the forum. And I also want to remind our participants of this webinar to take the message that we are under the membership drive, and up to March 31st we are having the membership drive at half rate, and therefore I would like all the members to also influence and convince others to join the forum, so that Indian anthropological fraternity becomes very strong to make our identity assertive and go ahead with new vision and new mission. I would like to thank all the participants, particularly our senior people, starting from Professor Vota, Professor Amrita Bhaga, Professor A.K. Sinha, Professor Anup Kapoor, Professor Arvind Sinha, Professor Arup, Professor Indu Talwar, Professor Nita Mewar, Professor Ranju Hasni Sahu, Professor Shalina Mehta, Dr. Sunita Reddy, Professor Surya Prakash, Professor Kalyani Rath, Professor Kamal Mishra, Professor Vijay Prakash, Professor Mutadkar, our advisor, Professor Rahim Mondal, Professor Birpal Singh, Dr. Lalit Kumar, Dr. Piyush, all other participants who made this evening a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.